Well, good morning. It is a really great pleasure to be back at this conference once again. This is a conference I've been called to speak to several times. Only this time I was asked to come back and be your keynote speaker today. Really looking forward to kind of taking you on a little journey about how I lived with autism and overcame autism through the benefits of early diagnosing, early intervention, things like that. And before I begin, I really would like to dedicate this presentation today to the dear, loving memory of my mom, Rosemary, who passed away earlier this year. Someone that really was just a very dear person to me. I really miss it very much. And I know today from looking down from heaven, she is smiling as we speak today. For a long time, I really didn't know why I had autism and why my life was so much different. And it wasn't until one day I was going through some books, and I accidentally found this huge big folder that had all of my records in it, and it was one of those folders like what the doctor keeps your medical records and the charts in. And I opened it up and started to really learn about myself for the first time. And I have to say, sometimes it was very shocking. It was very emotional. I never really understood myself or really made the connection with myself about my own autism until I found this file folder. And it was there I started to learn as much as I could about my autism and how autism affected others. And during that time, I decided that I wanted to get into becoming a motivational speaker and being an advocate to help others understand autism and its many myths and misunderstandings of autism. Autism is not just one type of disability. It is a spectrum of challenges from the mild to the severe. I have been very active in the autism community as both a motivational speaker, advocate. I have served on some boards. One board in particular that I got to serve on was the Alabama Interagency Autism Coordinating Council, which was chaired by Senator Cameron Ward. And I was not just any member, but I was actually a founding member. And one of the accomplishments that I was really proud to be a part of during my time on that board was the eventual passing of legislation to have insurances provide certain benefits to autism services that are so needed. I was involved in some of the plannings of that. When I was about 18 months old, I was diagnosed with early childhood autism by an Army psychiatrist. And while we were stationed in Germany, my dad is retired Army, and I grew up a military child all my life. The Army initially told my parents that there really wasn't much in the way that they could provide as far as any kind of treatment or therapies. But if they were to find a program on their own that was located near a military base, the Army would take care of relocating us to that military base where that facility or school was. My first symptoms with autism started with being nonverbal Instead of talking, I would often make sounds or become like echolalic. I would just repeat things I might hear. And I would use a lot of like hand gestures to communicate. I also started rocking a lot, and actually still do today, especially whenever I listen to music. Rocking to me has always been like a stimulant or a way to calm myself after I've had like I just had a real intense situation or just like a bad day at school or something. I also had some sound sensitivity problems early on. I really didn't like to be in a construction site or the car repair shop where they were using the drills, the saws, because of the extreme high-pitched noises, that they would give off. And I was very particularly terrified of the circular saw. Autism can also coexist with other disabilities. In my case, I'm also visually impaired. Along with my autism diagnosis, I also received the diagnosis of severe myopia vision, which is what causes me to be extremely nearsighted. And as a result of that, that extreme low vision that I have, I don't drive anymore, and that's one of the reasons why I live in the city of Birmingham, so that I can utilize the public transit system that we have here, and which is what allows me to live on my own and maintain my independence. Not long after my autism diagnosis, I started to develop some very special abilities and interest early on. One of the things I really got into was drawing, creativity. I love music. One of my current hobbies I have right now, when it comes to art and creativity, I'm an amateur photographer, which I really enjoy very much. When I started drawing, I would draw like mechanical, architectural, structural things like that. I often enjoyed just loving to stare at like abstract patterns or overlapping patterns, and then figure out a way how to create that into something and whatnot. Art and music have always been a very special part of my life, and have always been a release to me. From the music aspect, I actually ran my own DJ business for about 10 years, where I played at school dances, I played at parties, I played conferences, things like that. And another thing I enjoy a lot is I do like to play the drums. I do like percussion. I do enjoy going to concerts, and I go to many. This year alone, I've been to some. I've already gone to see like the Rolling Stones, Stevie Wonder, just to name a few this year that I've been to, and I go to concerts like 3 or 4 times a year, sometimes more than that. One of my favorite music soundtracks is the movie Rocky. Often my theme song has always been the song Eye of the Tiger. Whenever I have something really special that I'm looking forward to, or something that that I'm just really excited about, like coming here to speak, or just some particular event I'm looking forward to, I often like to listen to the music from the Rocky soundtrack to kind of help get me in the mood. kind of get me in the mood and the spirit of things. I've always had some very good long-term memory. There's a lot of things I can still recall from as young as 2. When it comes to music, a lot of times I don't need but maybe 15 seconds of a song I might hear on the radio or somebody talk about, and I can, tell you probably who it is and give you information, about that particular song or artist, stuff like that. But these are like some of the savant skills that you would see in the movie Rain Man a lot. In this particular story, I'd like to talk to you a minute about how my grandmother got me to say my first words. Like I said early on, when I was initially diagnosed with autism, I was nonverbal. And when we came back from Europe and came back here to the States, we stayed with my grandmother in Anniston until we knew where we were going to be going from there. And my grandmother was just very devastated and heartbroken that I couldn't talk yet. And so every night when she would put me to bed or something, she would always say, "Mama, say mama, say mama." And she did that just persistently every night until finally one night when I was 3, I said "mama" back to Grandma for the first time. And that was how I began to talk. And the point of this story that I'll leave you with on that is that, when you see something different early on, you see some signs of something, whatever you do, intervene and don't deny that that's there, because the earlier you can get intervention on things like this, the better the chances are in life. After my parents did some research where we were going to go and what we were going to do, they learned about a program at the University of North Carolina called TEACH, which was located in Chapel Hill. When my parents learned about this program, the Army relocated us to Fayetteville, North Carolina, and we were stationed at Fort Bragg. And here I would go through 3.5 years of various therapy sessions, role play sessions to take me from having no communication, no language, no social skills to having all of that by the time I was almost 6. And a lot of the way that was done was we would do a lot of role play things together. My therapist would gauge me in some of my interests, to get me to open up. Like you see here, we're looking at a book together, which is called the Richard Scarry's, What People Do All Day, which was one of my favorite books growing up. But doing things like that was what would get me to open up and actually talk and have to eventually carry on conversations and understand conversations. We would do just a variety of social role plays. But like I said, they took me from having none of that to having all of that by the time I was almost 6. And when I first started becoming a motivational speaker, when I did, one of the first promises I made to myself was that someday I would return to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and I would come and be a speaker at one of their conferences to share my story and share with them how this program just really impacted my life. the way it did. And in 2007, I made good on that promise and returned to the Teach Center in North Carolina, and I delivered my first ever autism speaking, my first autism presentation that I got to do there for the first time, and that was probably one of the most emotional lectures that I ever got to do, and it was just a really great opportunity to finally show them for the first time, just the impact and difference that it had that this place had in my early life, early on. After leaving Teach, it was recommended that I be put into special ed classes when I got ready to enroll into elementary school and high school. And although I was in special ed most of my life, I did participate in regular classes. I did participate in after-school programs and various other little programs that my high school had to offer. For example, I played on the junior varsity basketball team, as you see here, and I also became the team manager for about 2 years. And then another thing I took part in that I really loved a lot was taking speech classes and being on the drama team. And it was actually through that that I found my inspirations to want to become a public speaker later in life. I was also very active in various art classes where I continued my love and passion for drawing and creativity. And so high school actually for me was really a great time for me. And I was actually kind of sad when it ended because I lost some of the social supports that I had and really loved. But however, through things like MySpace and Facebook, I've been able to reconnect a lot through my classmates and been able to reconnect with my teachers and staff that I really enjoyed and have been able to and just been really enjoying that, getting to talk to them again and actually, and just going over all those, all those great fond memories, that I have so much of. After graduating high school, I got involved with the vocational rehab services, and at some point they sent me to the Alabama School for the Deaf and Blind in Talladega because of my vision impairment, and there I was able to take computer classes and took some business office courses, and that led me to eventually moving to Birmingham and getting a job with the Alabama Department of Rehab Services, where I worked as a receptionist, where I would work as a receptionist and office manager for 25 years, and that's what would eventually lead me to leaving home and moving to Birmingham and having an independent life. And one of the great accomplishments that I got to do when I moved to Birmingham was eventually becoming a homeowner. In 2005, I bought my first house, as you see here, and the reason why I share this is because I still know a lot of people with disabilities who don't always get to own a home and take advantage of the American dream. And well, during the time when I was getting ready to leave home and move into my first apartment, when I first moved to Birmingham almost 30 years ago, I had professionals, I had family members, and I had friends that told me that, oh, you'll never make it. and I just said, watch me. And so I, just of course ignored that and went on, and here I bought my first house, and I was able to, at that time there was a special grant that enabled me to help me with the down payment assistance and the financial obligations that go along with that, and that's how I was able to get my first home. And like the rest of us, we can live the American dream too. Yeah. 2 years ago, I retired from the Alabama Department of Rehab Services, where I worked there as a receptionist and office manager. And it was during my time there that I found my inspirations to eventually become a motivational speaker and get involved in the autism community when I did. And it was there that I got to take advantage of many of those great opportunities that came along. And lost my place. Yeah, for 25 years I worked with the Alabama Department of Rehab Services until I retired in 2022 to pursue another great chapter of my life. But it was during that time that I made a lot of great friends and took advantage of many great opportunities, in particular the eventuality of when I became a motivational speaker and really got involved in the autism community when I did. After my retirement with the Alabama Department of Rehab Services, I went on to pursue a new great chapter working at a primary care clinic called the Sil Harris Clinic. There I work in scheduling and registration. I do I help schedule patient appointments so that they can see their doctor. I work with a really amazing team, called front office, where we provide all of the clerical and office duties to our doctors and our medical staff so that their day can run smoothly. And I have learned a lot of new things in this working in this job. I love the fact that I get to learn new things every day. No one day is ever the same. One of the great joys that I take home with me every day is knowing that I got to schedule that patient and get them and have them to be able to see their doctor, and knowing that I had a part in that in their life. And I have always liked, one of the things I always liked working with during my time at ADRS was I always liked working somewhere where I could serve in the community and give back. And at Sil Harris Clinic, I get to do that every day. In closing, I would like to end by saying that if you have yourself a dream, work hard, believe in yourself, because I'm telling you, dreams do come true. I want to thank y'all all for being here today. May God bless, and let's all reach our dreams. Thank y'all. How we doing on time? Do you want to take a question or two or something, or?
Are there any resources in Alabama like Teach in North Carolina?
I would say probably the closest thing that I know would be Mitchell's Place.
Okay.
is one. That is probably the closest to something like Teach in North Carolina. And I've actually had the pleasure of speaking at some of their functions as well, and have been very active in that program too. I'll jump to this slide. If you would like to see any of my photography work or see any of my other lectures that I do have a website and a YouTube channel that you can go to. And I do have some cards available on me, so feel free to stop me and get one from me.
Do you have any siblings?
I actually grew up an only child, but however, I do have a half brother who is 14 years younger than me that lives in Tennessee with my dad. And I do have a half sister who's about 20 years younger than me. And my brother actually made me an uncle about 14 years ago. So I do love spoiling my niece whenever I go visit when I go visit them. They all live up in Tennessee.
I'm looking at your pictures right now. They're really good.
Thank you.
I love the ones of Birmingham, like the black and white ones.
I love to do historical.
Yeah, they're all really good. Old times in Birmingham.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite. I love history, and I love to photograph like architectural, historical nature scenes. Is anybody here familiar with Ansel Adams? He is the reason why I picked up a camera. I love a lot of his black and white work, which back then that was the only technology he had. But one of my goals in life is to someday go to Yosemite and follow his footsteps and try to trace some of his old haunts that he loved to photograph. Another thing I enjoy a lot is in photography. I do go to air shows. I love planes. I love to fly. Being a military child, I had to fly a lot early on. Still do today. When my parents divorced when I was 9, my dad would send me plane tickets every summer and every other Christmas. So me, Delta, and Southwest became very good friends early on. I know the Atlanta airport like I know the palm of my hand.
What about the fireworks? You just like,
Yeah.
you just like taking pictures and stuff. I mean, I love fireworks.
My house, it just so happens, my house sits at the pedestal of Vulcan.
Okay.
If you want a good place to come watch the fireworks, come to my driveway. I got the spot. I live at Southside near Ramsey High School in Cobb Lane. So I see Vulcan. I see Vulcan every evening when I come in. If you look on there, you'll find some pictures of Vulcan on there.
They're really good.
They're really
I mean, they're really good, aren't they?
They're really good.
I love the
Yeah.
Vulcan pictures.
I also love to do a lot of travel photography. I do love to explore places and photograph places. I've been lucky enough to travel to Ireland. I've been to Hawaii. I've been to San Francisco. I've been East Coast, West Coast, and stuff like that. So.
Do you have a particular place that you've enjoyed taking photographs the most?
That's a hard one.
That's fair.
I would say any place that's like of historical aspects for some kind of nature. And I do love air shows. And if you're wondering how I go to air shows and be able to tolerate the noise, it wasn't until I was probably about almost a teenager that I finally could, tolerate some of the loud noises. I do take ear protection. I do wear those big headphones, you use when you shoot a gun that you use when you go to a shooting range or something. I do wear those religiously whenever I go see when I go see the Blue Angels or the Thunderbirds. I have lots of. If you look at my website on there, you'll probably run across some of that too. But I really love photographing the Air Force Thunderbirds over the Blue Angels, simply just because my dad is retired Army. Whenever he got deployed, the Air Force were the ones to pick him up and take him where he had to go. And my grandfather was a ball turret gunner on the B-17 Flying Fortress during World War II. So early on, I grew up hearing the stories of some of his missions. And that's another reason why I love planes and why I love to go to air shows. When I do go to air shows, I always go to honor his memory of that. And one of the things I got to do about 2 years ago was up in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. There is a week-long air show that they have there that I have always wanted to go to since I was a kid. And I finally got to go up there back in 2021. And one of the things I got to do was ride in a B-17, just like what my grandfather got to fly on during his missions. And I actually got to spend 30 minutes of what my grandfather had to spend. He had 8 hours in fending off the bad guys. I can take more questions. I mean, I'm here as long as you want me.
Where are you going on your next concert?
Me and my girlfriend are going to Las Vegas in April for a few days to attend another air show there, and we're going to go see Barry Manilow. Yeah. All right.
What's been one of your biggest challenges to overcome?
Wow. I would say the loud noises was one. Trying to deal with probably changes would be one. Would be another one. Just I know early on I used to get upset a lot when something changed in the classroom or something was moved around in my bedroom, something like that. I would say those. I would say that and noise issues were probably. But I could say more.
How do you cope with changes now as an adult?
I would say with maturity, I probably handle it a whole lot better than probably say probably how I handled it as a child. It just, there's just some things you just like that you don't always overcome. They kind of overcome themselves.
Right.
Good. All right. So, yes, ma'am.
I got another one. Before you transitioned to buy your home and live on your own, did you live with a parent or an aide, or how did you transition into that?
I still lived at home with my folks.
Okay.
At that time. Yeah, no, that's a good one. Yeah, because I moved to Birmingham when I was 21, and next year will be 30 years since I've been on my own, and just all the things that I've accomplished, and still continue to accomplish. It has been a really great ride. And I make no bones about it. I mean, I would do it again. I would do it again if I could.
Was it a difficult transition at first?
Oh, just a typical, anxiety, but not really. I didn't find it really too bad. In some aspects, I was really glad to finally get out. I mean, who isn't? Yeah.
International destinations are on your bucket list?
Oh, I'd love to go to, probably the next one that I really hope to do. My ancestry is from Poland. Goike is my last name, and as a photographer, I would love to go to the Czech Republic and go to Prague, because there is so much history there and so much old architecture that's been standing there. I mean, that even survived both wars. Both of the wars that we fought over there. And the Czech Republic, neighbors against Poland, and the Goike family mostly came from a place called Krakow, Poland, which kind of straddles the border of the Czech Republic and Poland. I know this may seem sad or may seem off, but I also would love to see Auschwitz, just because of the history significance that was there. When I don't have much memory of this, but when we did live in Germany, my folks and I did go to Dachau, which was a Nazi concentration camp in Germany. We lived in Stuttgart, Germany, when I got my autism diagnosis. One of the things I really enjoyed doing when I went to Ireland was that the Goike family the faith is Catholic. And one of the things that I got to do when I was in Ireland was go to a mass service at St. Patrick's Cathedral, and take in the whole Catholic faith service, and I really felt like I was honoring my ancestral background that way of doing that. I am a follower of Christ, and I was led to the Lord when I was 13 by my special ed teacher, Ms. Pogue. One of my life verses that I go by a lot is from the book of Philippians 4:14. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
I know you said your grandmother was very instrumental in setting up First Word Mama, but what else can you tell us about what you remember or what was important in more than your kids developing their early intervention with education? Like, how could they start teaching more words or setting intentions?
I would say during my time at Teach was really where I begin to progress, if you will, in developing how to speak sentences and understand conversations. And a lot of that was just through persistent role plays between me and my therapist that you saw early on in the slides. And another was the constant gauging in my interests. That's how they got me to open up that way a lot too. I have a lot of fond memories of my time at Teach, and I still reflect a lot and fall back on that a lot. You know, when I want to recall something in particular, even when I do these lectures, I often fall back on that. And to me, talking about teach has always been probably my favorite whole part of telling you the story today. And the return, when I eventually got to return to teach when I did, and deliver my first, keynote address there, was just like, it was just the pinnacle, the homecoming speech that I got to do. And we'll do it again.
Was the time at teach like a full day, 8 to 3, or was it a therapy session?
Mostly therapy sessions. I was put into a school in Fayetteville where we lived that actually did have some ties to the teach program. And so they were actually able to incorporate some things there and some things here, kind of back and forth. But it was, one of the things I remember most of it was a very coordinated program between where I went to school and between my family.
So I have hearing loss, and while it's counterintuitive to a lot of people, I can get very overstimulated with sound. With your visual loss, do you get overstimulated visually?
All the time. But I also tend to find with the vision loss, I tend to often hear better things, or hear better than the average. One example I can give in that was a church I used to go to. I used to do sound. I used to run their big soundboard, and I would do things like make sure, like, the preacher's mic was potted up when needed, and the choir mics were on when needed, and play certain music on on the stereo system when it was needed. But there was one particular time we were getting ready for like an event, like a music event, and we were setting up some mics, and we were testing out mics, and some of the mics were on, some were off, and I remember hearing like a really low feedback coming from one of the mics, and I told one of the guys, I said, well, I'm going to go back to the board and turn that mic down. And they looked at me with like this long face, like, what? Huh? And I'm like, don't you hear that feedback? And it's like, no, like, get a little closer and you hear it, and well, I get distracted doing something else, forget about it, and well, somebody runs into the mic and shrew, and I was like, yeah, that's the one I was talking about. That's the one I was going to go turn off. Yeah, and oh, you could hear that? Yeah, I could hear that. Right.
So what coping mechanisms do you find the best to help you improve, like loud sounds and stuff, as you were growing up?
Putting on ear protection, but mostly just having to like leave the room and try to go somewhere where it was always just more quieter. Unfortunately, there really wasn't. I mean, whenever I got around something like that, I would go into like a cocoon state of things. Whenever I got around, particularly the skill saw and stuff like that. But that's something else I really don't feel like I overcame. It overcame itself.
I have a question.
Sure.
Have you thought about writing a book about your life story?
Yes, I have. And if I could find someone, that is honest and would have, the appropriate interest in helping me write a story or stories, I would definitely would take advantage of that, because yes, I would love to. I would love to have a book someday, that I could use to reach out, reach out to the masses.
What advice would you give to parents that, that have children who they suspect might have children with autism or are struggling with their children?
Just always be involved, like I was saying early on about how when my grandmother got me to talk, when you see something, acknowledge it, don't deny it. Don't be overprotective either. If they show, signs of, wanting to be independent, allow that. Allow that, and whatnot. But mostly just don't deny. Don't deny.
Have you ever considered working with other people with autism to help them overcome some of the challenges that you face?
I have, and I have done some mentoring, but I really find it better to. Share my story and lecture to like people like you who either have a child with autism or someone that's in the profession, and try to bring about ideas and things that could benefit you, or you the parent or you the professional. That's really where that is really my strength. I've always found, and that's what I really enjoy. It's lectures like this, to me, is often like therapy. And over the years as a motivational speaker, by doing this has allowed me to really, finally, come to terms a lot, with my own living with autism and overcoming its challenges. It's, allowed me to come to terms with that a lot. And, the satisfaction that I get out of, coming to talk to you guys today is that, you guys can go home and utilize what I, have shared, and that it works. And that it works.
We thank you for that.
Absolutely. Always.
I have a question. When you were at Teach, the therapist that you have, do you know if it was a speech language pathologist or were they different kind of therapists there?
Fortunately, I don't know what her actual profession was, but I do know that that she was a really great person. I really enjoyed our times that we had together. If there's some way I could like find her on like Facebook or something, I would, to be able to reconnect again, and whatnot. But but unfortunately, I don't know what her actual title was or anything like that.
As an autistic adult, how do you feel like your general attitude towards autistic people has changed? Has it gotten better? Is it the same? Is always, there lessons? What makes you feel like
I feel like over time it has gotten better, but there's definitely room for improvement, which there always is. I will say, as a person myself who has disabilities, I'm not always on board with what normal society thinks we should be on. I do tend to balk at society sometimes a lot of what, how they think we should be or how we shouldn't be, because, I mean, it's just real simple. Society was not really made for people with disabilities. And so we have to kind of forge our own ways in that, aspect in society. And sometimes it makes people mad, but oh well. It's just, they'll get over it. You should have seen some of the reactions I had from people that told me that I would never live on my own, and I would never make it, and some still think, like that, like, well, how did, not everyone wants to acknowledge that, that it can't be done, unfortunately. Not saying that to everybody, but that's some. The goal is to make that percentage smaller.
What helped you most from your special education teachers in middle school and high school? Was it them focusing on academics with you, helping you with coping skills, with communication? What was it that helped you most from them?
All the above. All the above. When I went to public school until I was 9, and then I went to private school from when I was 9 until I graduated. And there I had a special ed teacher named Miss Gail Pogue, who just really took me under her wing, and she worked with me both academically, socially, communication, everything, and just really did a lot early on in my life, and she's the one that led me to the Lord too. Okay. Yeah.
Is there a resource that's not available to you in Birmingham for
I don't know any particular here that are not here, but I know Huntsville tends to have them. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because of the, NASA space, all the Redstone, but it seems like I hear Huntsville really just like being more progressive and being more, having resources available more than I hear than what's available in Birmingham. I mean the biggest resource that I know of here in Birmingham, I would say would be Mitchell's Place in Glenwood. Glenwood is one. Another one that I would say. But and then of course we have the Autism Society of Alabama. Is a really good resource too. And I've had the privilege of being their keynote speaker a few times at their conferences too.
Would you come to Atlanta and share your story?
Of course, I love Atlanta.
Okay, great.
I
Go
love
to the airport,
traveling. Yeah. Speaking of Atlanta, there's actually a hotel that I actually go spend weekends in called the Renaissance Concourse Hotel, where they have these balcony rooms that overlook the runway system, and I go there sometimes to spend weekends to do a hobby that I enjoy a lot called plane spotting, and that's where I go and watch the planes and take pictures of the planes with my camera gear and stuff. I've got some of that on my site too. So yeah, I will go anywhere. I have traveled, and as a motivational speaker. I mean, I have traveled to like Nashville, Seattle, Reno, Las Vegas for speaking engagements. I have worked crowds from this size to a couple thousand, to an almost like full arena. Little funny note, speaking of mine, one time I had to go to a conference in Reno, Nevada, to do a lecture there, and the room that I was set up in was actually on the casino floor of the hotel that the conference was being held in. And so every few minutes, you know, when people were coming in, I would hear, you know, the bells from the slot machines going off, and, you know, the clicks, and, you know, while I was, you know, getting stuff set up. And so I told my audience, I said, well, if you guys get bored with my presentation and you decide you want to go out and pull the handle of one of those slots, if it hits, you share half your winnings with me. I do it all independently. I mean, like I said, I know Atlanta Airport like I know the palm of my hand. I've flown so much all my life that, you know, there's not much I really don't know that's going to happen. You know, when you board the plane, you know, all the safety announcements, you know, they have to do. And there's actually a program that I've actually have gone to speak at a couple times called Wings for Autism. That's actually been held here at our airport, where they do like a simulation module, if you will, of going to the airport, checking in, going through security, doing getting on the plane, and, you know, going through the process of, you know, getting ready for the flight. I know there's been a couple times when I went, they would actually, you know, put everybody on the plane, and they would actually drive the plane around the airfield. Wouldn't take off, but they would like take you around. You know, they do like a quick loop around the field, around the tarmac or something, and then go back to the gate. You know, as if like you were arriving at your destination and stuff like that. But yeah, when people ask me, oh, do you get scared when you fly? I'm like, oh, this ain't my first rodeo. I'm one of those people, I love to fly. I love the experience. I get very excited when I'm going to the airport, and I get real excited when I get on the plane. I always make sure I got me a window seat, and I always have my camera by my side in case I see something really cool to photograph at 35,000 feet. Yeah. All right.
Is that program that you mentioned, Wings for Autism, is that open for all ages, or is it?
It actually is. Yeah, it's for children it's actually for children and adults.
I think they do it at they downloaded it.
Yeah, after the pandemic, it kind of like stopped, and then I haven't.
2 years ago, yeah, but they don't travel down the
No,
That was
the very first time that we did it, in 2015, they actually put us on the plane, taxied the plane out to the runway, and we actually drove across the runway, and the pilot, you know, he would, you know, tell you things about, you know, the whole process of flight and what, you know, how this happens and how that happens, and then they, you know, taxied us back to the gate, just to, you know, to simulate, you know, what it would be like, you know, when you travel, and then when you depart and when you arrive. Yeah. But yeah, I actually got to be a speaker at one of those events once, which was a really great. I really enjoyed getting to do that and getting an opportunity to do that, because that was my first time to really share my, you know, just my love and passion for travel. And flying and whatnot. Yeah. How are we doing on time? Okay. We'll take one more. She does, very much, yeah. And she's actually been the first girlfriend that I've actually had to actually go with me on some of my trips, and not always flying solo, and whatnot. We actually, we just recently flew together down to Pensacola, to go to the Blue Angels homecoming show, just a few weeks ago, and then back in late summer, we took a trip up to northern Kentucky, where we went to see the Noah's Ark exhibit in the Creation Museum. We did that together and stuff like that. Yeah, so she's getting to see for the first time all of my excitement, that I get when I get on the plane. And it also just so happened she actually is friends with someone at her church whose husband is an airline pilot for Delta. And so for the first time now, I have someone that I can go to and actually share my love and passion for flying, with him, and talk about, things, about flying and whatnot. And it's been really cool to share with him, all of my photography work and plane spotting ventures and stuff like that. So I have that now for the first time ever, which has been pretty neat. So. All right. Well, I really do thank you all for having me today. I hope this lecture goes with you and goes a long way with you. Like I said, like I was saying early on, let's all reach for the sky. Let's all achieve our dreams.
I'm going to jump up here really fast. We're going to change things up just a little bit. We're going to fast forward some stuff, just a hair of some sort. So if you guys want to take a break, go visit the vendors and stuff, get up, walk around, and the next session's going to start at 10 instead of 10:10 as listed on there. So just, go grab snacks, go grab vendors, go register for whatever, and then just try to be in your location by 10, and we'll start everything up back at 10 o'clock. Thank you.